welcome to the magnificent surroundings of Dublin Castle, to our annual Ireland-US Council MidSummer Gala. My name is Brian Stack, and as President of the Ireland-US Council, it's my real pleasure to extend a big, warm Irish welcome to all our Council members and guests this evening to this very special occasion. I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us. But right now, it's my distinct pleasure to welcome to this podium a distinguished Irishman who has made a huge contribution to building the Ireland-US Council presence here in Ireland. He has had a distinguished career in public finance, and what he doesn't know about international banking and finance is just not worth knowing. We are greatly indebted to him and for his continued service as President of the Ireland chapter of the Ireland-US Council. So please welcome the great Dr. Michael Summers.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much indeed for that great welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to introduce and welcome to the podium a distinguished public servant. He's the youngest member of the Irish government and was appointed to office by the Taoiseach Enda Kenny in March 2011. He served in the Cabinet first as Minister for Transport, Tourism and Sport, and in 2014 was given the very important Cabinet portfolio at the Department of Health. First elected to the Dáil in 2007, he's a former Fine Gael spokesperson on enterprise, trade and employment and a former spokesperson on communications, energy and natural resources. Before his election to the Dáil, he served as a member of Fine Gael County Council from October 2003. He received the highest vote in Ireland in the local elections of 2004. He has a strong interest in political reform, proposing and securing government support for a more transparent system of making public appointments, and he authored the first policy paper calling for a reduction in the number of state agencies. He was born and raised in the Blanchardstown Castleknock area. He studied medicine in Trinity College Dublin, where he earned his degree in 2003. He worked in several hospitals before opting for general practice as a medical doctor. Now, one of the things is that many of us have heard of how we've solved the mysteries of the Higgs-boson particle and the third secret of Fatima, etc. But we're still waiting to solve the mystery of the Irish Health Service. So tonight, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, may I welcome the Minister for Health, Dr. Leo Varadkar, who may indeed help to solve this great conundrum for us. Thank you.
Mr. President, members of the Irish-US Council, Senator Catherine Noone, distinguished guests and friends. First of all, it's a real pleasure to be here tonight for your gala dinner, and I really want to thank you very much for inviting me to be here to address you. As you know, the Ireland-US Council has been going strong now for over 50 years and has remained true to the same vision and values that inspired it back in 1963, when a group of idealistic business leaders from Ireland and America came together to make plans for the visit of President John F. Kennedy to Ireland. The Kennedy visit was an enormous success back in June 1963, and almost to this very date, he spoke in these rooms in Dublin Castle about the importance of education and the relationship between education and freedom. It was a powerful message that I believe still resonates today, and one that clearly this Council shares. Over the past 5 decades, you've played a very significant role in building links between our two countries, especially between business and political leaders, and you've always helped to support the next generation coming through. Through your scholarship and internship programs, seminars and social events, and all the work you've done behind the scenes, you've made an enormous contribution, and for that we're very grateful. In a week in which we mourned the lives of some of our youngest and brightest, I think we can still be inspired and consoled by the message of President Kennedy that night. Over the years, the Council has honoured figures from the world of business, politics and the arts, and I see tonight you're going to honour the wonderful artist Geraldine O'Neill, who is this year's winner of your Artistic Award for her portrait entitled The Drawing. It's a brilliant piece of work, a drawing by the artist of her daughter holding her own drawing. And it seems to me, when you look at it, that there's a certain sadness in the child's eyes. Perhaps she's just annoyed that she had to stand for so long while the picture was being done. But it's almost impossible to look at that picture this week without thinking of the sadness on so many faces when we're all forced to come to terms with the awful tragedy that occurred in Berkeley. There's nothing that I can add to everything that's been said already, except to say that we've all been moved by the pictures of two countries united in grief. One person in Berkeley admitted that he'd never seen the city so affected by one single event, and he recounted a story that particularly resonated with me during the week. And that was earlier in the week when a sidewalk in Kittredge Street was blocked and a passing child complained about it to her mother. And the mother rebuked her child and said very gently, "Listen, you need to have some respect. This is a sacred space, okay?" And the child immediately understood. And I think for the people of Berkeley now, there's a new bond with Ireland. One, to use President Kennedy's words, is profound and eternal. And as someone whose own youthful interest in politics was moulded into something more serious by a summer J1 internship in Washington, D.C., I can understand the shock and grief that comes when young lives are ended by tragedies with no meaning. And so, once again, our two countries are joined with a bond of blood. But Ireland and the United States have been joined by ties of blood and affection for centuries, predating even the formation and independence of our two countries. It's something that President Reagan commented on when he visited Ireland from the United States back in 1984, and he too was honoured here in Dublin Castle in the month of June, coincidentally. After that, he addressed the joint houses of the Oireachtas and quoted President Lincoln and reminded us that our two countries were joined by mystic cords of memory. And he echoed President Kennedy in talking about the preconditions for freedom. And one thing Reagan very much believed in was that when it came to freedom, a key to freedom was prosperity, something which he thought had been overlooked in arguments around the world. And when he spoke here in 1984, he praised the gains that Ireland was making in attracting advanced industries and technological companies and credited them with our country's historic regard for personal freedom, which he said was the firm basis for increasing cooperation, not only between our two countries, but among all the countries of the globe that recognise it. Most people and most parties in this state believe that's the case, but of course some do not. There are some parties who are very happy to accept donations from the American business community, and members of the American business community are happy to make those donations. But at the same time, here in Ireland, they denounce US corporations and the business community here in Ireland for being part of one same golden circle. It's a party that speaks out against American involvement in the Middle East and votes against taking action against ISIS in the European Parliament, something that I believe is particularly chilling today when we witness the events in Tunisia and France and also in Kuwait. And of course, our condolences are with all of the people who died in the terrorist attacks today, particularly the Irish citizen, the HSE employee from Meath, who was killed by terrorists in Tunisia. And of course, it's a party whose leader rightly condemned the 9/11 attacks as being ethically indefensible terrorism, because presumably there is ethical defensible terrorism. And indeed, the paper of that party, on this only a day later, described the 9/11 events as a disaster for which the West and its client states must bear some responsibility. And I think the problem in getting money from America, and getting money from America is not something necessarily to be ashamed of, but it's very hypocritical when you don't believe in America, when you don't believe in that sunny optimism, that spirit, that dream, and that promise that is America. And like so many on the left, they don't believe what Americans naturally believe in, which is that everyone should aspire to achieve great things, and that people can be inspired to succeed. Their ambition, and the ambition of some people in this country who would replace the government of which I'm a member, is that we should raise the minimum industrial wage and then put everyone on it. A better ambition, I believe, is to enable each person to reach their potential and to create the opportunities for genuine success. That's how society becomes prosperous, and that's how people succeed. We have a role in that, and the Ireland-US Council has a role in that as well. You're the leaders in your fields. You've helped to ensure that our two countries are able to offer both the education and the prosperity, which are the twin keys to freedom. We have many challenges ahead, but I think we can draw inspiration and example from those who've come before us and those who face challenges without fear. One of President Reagan's favourite quotes was quoting from the 18th century radical and pamphleteer Thomas Paine, who said, "We have it in our power to begin the world again." And of course, some people dismiss Reagan as being crazy or arrogant or naive, but I actually think on that point he was right. Because with the fall of communism, the world did begin again. And here in 2015, I think we're facing another pivotal moment. Both of our countries have something to offer as we face enormous challenges ahead. The United States has the power to defend its vision of liberty and equality across the world by supporting and promoting economic freedom, the only type of freedom that can liberate people and liberate billions from poverty in the way it already has in some parts of the world. In Ireland, of course, we don't have that kind of authority, but we do have something equally powerful. We have the authority that comes from moral force and from example. And indeed, the last time I was here in Dublin Castle was for the result of the marriage referendum, when an overwhelming majority of people in Ireland became the first country in the world to vote for full marriage equality. It was something that was carried across the country. 42 out of 43 constituencies voted yes, and showed us that we're not a country with red states or blue states or red counties or blue states, that Ireland can in fact be one nation. And it's also a message that I believe went around the world, and a message that was all the more powerful because of the values that it represents. It was a message that said that prejudice and fear were not unbeatable, that we could actually believe in each other and believe in each other's better instincts. And so I think what better day than today, in this MidSummer's week, this week of Dublin Pride, and this week leading into the 4th of July, that the United States Supreme Court today upheld those truths in America as well, and recognised in their constitution a constitutional right that we enshrined in ours only a few weeks ago. I believe there will be many calls on both our nations to show similar leadership and example in other difficult areas in the years ahead. And I think Ireland and the United States should seek to do that together. Ireland and America, united by history, bonded to true blood, but shared in our values. Thank you very much.